Great to have you here. I mean, you had so many questions for me raising at other people. Now I raise the questions at you, and
Absolutely.
you're still laughing, but believe me, that won't take too long. So, I mean, tell us a little bit how you involved in FiPME and how it all started with you.
Pretty much, yeah. I think I started in the industry like 10 years ago, and it was pretty interesting. I actually worked for a company called Turtle Entertainment, and they are now ESL, which is like the biggest esports league actually in the world. And I worked at Giga Esports and Giga Games, and it was super interesting that actually with Boris, I just have been to ESL 1 and like seen a lot of these colleagues again, and like gaming and esports all just has evolved so much, and it was very interesting. I remember that Boris basically texted me on LinkedIn, and he had this idea, and I was like, this is like very smart, right? Because like it's kind of like a very interesting evolution, and if you take a look at gaming, we always found new ways of sort of also monetizing and basically like transforming your hobby into an actual profession. Like if you take a look at, for example, Twitch, people just got on Twitch and just live streamed, and it was just a hobby, it was just for fun. And all of a sudden you have people like Ninja, you have people like making a lot of money, you have people creating careers out of it. And I believe that FiPME, for example, is really good for this as well, right? Like there's no reason why when someone puts a lot of energy and a lot of time into gaming, they should actually have the opportunity to really, like also monetize it and trade it and trade items. And I think that's why I believe in FiPME. I think it's a really cool product. It's very interesting, and I'm always forward. I'm always like, I love it when people can turn their passion into a career, and you can only do that, I mean, if you actually can make some money, because that's what we all need. So I'm all for it.
You're a gamer yourself, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, if there would be the chance to buy your dream in-game item, what would it be?
That's like this interesting one. I played a lot of like Warcraft 3 for the Frozen Throne, and it would probably be like one from there, like maybe something like the Lizard King or something like that, like something that comes from there. And also actually bringing back, like these good old RTS players, because we don't have them anymore and a lot. There's a company from Germany actually, which is pretty cool. They're working on a game that is kind of similar to Warcraft, could be almost like a Warcraft 4. You should check it out. A Year of Rain, and yeah, I think something this kind of like Rain.
So even you're a gamer, you would be willing to pay for an item, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
But what would be your most interest? Buying something, what is hard to get, or would you even go there and sell your daily items which you collect somewhere on the road?
I think both is very interesting, right? Like, I mean, sometimes you just want to have like a certain item. I think very interesting when you take a look at esports, for example. Like, I don't know, you're a big fan of a big clan, right? Like Astralis, for example, and then you have the option to. For example, they have their own skins, and it would be really cool if you're a fan of Astralis Counter-Strike Go Team and you go to ESL 1 in Cologne, for example, and then basically when you play with your friends, you can actually rock, like basically an AK-47 or an M4 with like the Astralis logo on it. I would definitely pay for that, because that's kind of cool, right? Like that's a kind of a interesting thing, but also, I mean, making some money with it, it's cool. I think it's really cool to trade it. In general, like I also got into Bitcoin and stuff like that. It's just also fun, right? Like it's not just about the money making part. It's really about like figuring out, like you buy low, sell high. That's kind of like a really cool thing. And I mean, you're a trader, so you know that. I think it's a very interesting mechanic.
Okay, so you did trade before.
Yeah.
So the first time you went on FiPME Exchange, it was not difficult for you to find out how it's being done.
It's very interesting. It's very, very easy actually. I mean, you just go there, you pretty much just put in the quantity and for how much you want to sell it. It's like Bitcoin, and yeah, and then you can just like figure it out. And I think what's really cool about FiPME actually is that we have like these charts where you can see like where's the price going, and then you're like, wow. I mean, like sometimes the price really fluctuates a lot. This has mostly to do with, I mean, obviously demand. And obviously very often demand comes from like the esports world, for example, or like certain items are just like very hot, or some certain items are very rare. And I think that's very interesting about it.
I'm very surprised about one thing. You mentioned Bitcoin, right? But normally, if I would ask you, you would say something totally else. It's like trading stocks on
FiPME.net.
no, New York Stock Exchange. You know, that is one
More
key.
keywords.
Oh,
I
okay.
love that running gag because
We have to do it again.
you know, I love that running gag because you know it's so hard to tell people how an exchange works. And then Benjamin came up with a very easy phrase. He said, you know, it's like trading stocks on New York Stock Exchange.
Exactly like that.
You know, you mentioned Bitcoin during your talk, but you know, normally if you're talking about that, you're coming up with something totally else. You remember?
I mean, I call FiPME like a stock exchange for gaming.
Right.
Yes.
And which one?
For the New York Stock Exchange.
Right.
Yeah.
So trading on FiPME is really similar to trading stocks on a stock exchange,
Yes.
but still there is a difference. I mean, we have the different stakeholders, we have the gamers, we have the publishers, and like a stock is part of a company. The gaming items are part of a game which belongs to a publisher. So do you see how they will enhance their economics with FiPME?
Yeah, a lot. I think it was very interesting. We had a lot of good talks and good meetings in Gamescom, and also talked with friends in industry. We can't really name names yet because we haven't signed a contract, so please understand that. But it's like pretty big players in Silicon Valley, pretty big players in like the mobile space, someone really huge in the free to play market, and they basically have the opportunity with our product to sort of like measure demand, like firsthand, right? They basically can say, okay, I want to offer a certain item. How many people are willing to pay for it and how much? And that's very interesting for them because typically they don't have that. They can just like, they can put out a price and they can see if the people buy it or not, but they don't really have like a measurement system. They don't have like this trading that you have on the stock exchange, which makes it really interesting, right? And yeah, obviously also as a revenue channel because we pay our commissions, and if you take a look at the market, I mean, you always have, like very often in the gaming space, it is like your numbers go up when you launch, and you kind of like keep them, but sometimes they also fluctuate, and once your numbers fluctuate, your revenue fluctuate, and that obviously is pretty tough for a company to sustain. And if we can offer them a new revenue channel that is very stable, that is also like, you know, like they can apply certain KPIs, certain metrics. They can sort of like see, okay, this is how much I can on average get on FiPME in terms of commissions. That adds to their business model, builds jobs, builds very stable companies. I think that's a good thing.
Can you give us some insights? Like, I mean, how many hours would you play on a regular week or a regular day? Or, I mean, do you play daily?
Yeah, I mean, I play a lot. Like I, for example, just reviewed Call of Duty. So you play this a lot. Like typically you get like the copy and then you play like 8 or 10 hours or whatever. I would say in a week, I probably play like, typically on average more like 10, 20 hours or whatever it is. Depends on if you have like a review cycle or if it's just like for fun. But yeah, a lot. I mean, I actually, it's funny, like now I have like my own apartment, but before I was living in like a living community with Julian. He's a really cool guy and he was really into FIFA, so we battle each other like almost every evening in FIFA. We played a ton of FIFA. These days a little bit less, but yeah, I also try to always like try out every game, you know, like because I do a lot of esports now and get a lot of into esports, and I'm currently trying to get better in Dota 2, which is pretty complicated. It's a very sophisticated game, like super in-depth strategy, all of those characters, all of those figures, very interesting. And I think that's kind of like what also makes gaming so great, that you never learn out, you know. You can just it's very tough to master a game, and that kind of like makes it a lot of fun.
Then again, it's your profession. You are a journalist and you're writing about games. So if you do it these days, is it still fun? Is it still getting to your nerves and you're still...
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I think it's like, I think it's just amazing because you typically get a glimpse into the future of gaming very early on. Like typically we fly to a studio, we have a look at a game that comes out mostly in 1 year, sometimes in even 2 years. So I think that's kind of amazing, and you can also like tell the story. This is something that I always loved in this job, that basically you get to retell what you experienced because other people can't see it, right? Like mostly it's like you fly into a studio, you play a game, but it's super secretive. Like they don't give you the material, they don't give you the B-roll, they don't give you the video.
Okay.
So if you really have to basically retell the story and sort of like rebuild this world for them. And I mean, I've learned a ton, I think, from J.K. Rowling, for example, who's like a master at this, right? I think that's one of the reasons why people love Harry Potter, because you read this and every little sentence, she's not just telling you, okay, you're in a room and there's a boat behind you. She tells you what the color of the boat is, how big the sails are. She's telling you how big the windows are. She's telling you whatever, like what kind of colors you have, what kind of mood is in there and stuff like that. And all of this atmosphere, I think it's like a lot about storytelling, and this makes game journalism a very interesting subject.
Good. So we talked about the future of the gaming industry, and that it's cool for you to have a look and through that tunnel. If you look through the tunnel of FiPME, what do you see in the future?
I think we can build like a big system, you know. Like I think this is something we have like this first mover advantage, and I think that's something also very unique, I think, in the gaming ecospace, because gaming is such a large thing. Like there's so many gamers out there. That's the reason why companies blew up so much, right? Like Twitch, for example, 10 years ago it just started. Now it's like I think it's probably worth like 10 billion or something, and it created careers for a lot of people. And I think that's what's really exciting me about FiPME, that I believe that we can not only generate revenue channels for new companies and studios and stuff like that and give them more stability, but also just like create the opportunity to build a career out of trading, out of just playing games. And I think that's a very interesting part, because if you think about it, if you want to be really successful on Twitch, you need to have like a certain personality, and you need to be an entertainer. You need to have like a certain edge, right? And a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people are just good in gaming, and I think it's about time that they actually have the opportunity now to just play, just get these items, and then sell them and actually create a career out of this.
Okay, that's interesting. So, if you have a wish for the next coming 5 years, what would it be in gaming and profit?
I guess in gaming, I would probably say, well, I mean, that's kind of like a bit more general, but certainly like quality control is a huge thing, right? Because I've seen a ton of games this year, not naming names, but I think everyone knows what we're talking about. And they had like so much potential, but they were just rushed out. I think this is something, and again, this is also something interesting, right? Like when you think about it, the moment you can generate a new revenue channel for a game studio, they have more stability. Maybe they get more time to develop their games, because that's right now is a huge problem. I mean, game development has become incredibly expensive. Like most games cost like 100 million, 150 million to develop. They typically have like a 50 to 100 million marketing budget very often. So their break even is just very high. Okay. And that's the reason why very often they get rushed out, and then they get patched. You get like a ton of patches, and maybe like after 3 months the game is in the state where it should have been when it launched. That's one thing. And yeah, I mean, for FiPME it's kind of like, you know, like I think just like success and make people happy. And I think we'll certainly have like a cool road ahead, and we'll meet a lot of people, I think. And I don't know, I mean, you never know, right? Like maybe we're like one of those lucky people, like the Twitch creators that I've just met, that also couldn't believe, you know, when they were in arena, and then all of a sudden there were like 1,000 people in there, and every one of them was a content creator, and every one of them was making money with Twitch, and it was their career, and they were like, holy fuck, we just had like an idea, and now like all of those people are actually have built a career out of this just like simple idea.
We cut out the fuck, but it was great to have you.
Awesome, man.